Hello, good morning. For those of you who noticed that I had some technical difficulties and were able to travel over to my new little Google Hangout site, hello. And yes, this means we will have technical difficulties with the post-game show that's going to happen in a little bit as well. So I will put the link in the little comment section of the previous link for the post-game show. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for joining me. As you may have noticed, I am alone in my own little room. You're also noticing I'm wearing my coat because I am in the only room in the house where my small children cannot get into, and that is a freezing cold room where they took out the radiator, I guess, because they figured we're not going to use it in the winter. I'm renting this house. Couple things before we begin, because of course, you know, I'm 8 minutes late because that's how I roll, dude. I would like to note that my dear co-host Lori S., who normally joins me for these things, was not able to do it this day. She is actually doing very good, amazing work with First Book. She is super busy and she cannot join me. This is a disadvantage for you because you're only getting my opinions on these things, and my opinions are woo! But that's okay. I do not drink coffee, but I am just psyched because this is, as someone said earlier today, I don't know who won the Golden Globes last night, but I know what I'm doing this morning and I'm so freaking psyched. I would also like to begin with a lovely thing from Lori S.'s coworker, Allison Morris, that was written last night that I thought was very good about these pre-game sort of predictions that we do. Allison Morris wrote, "I'm thinking tonight of all those authors and illustrators whose days, weeks, years will be made by tomorrow's ALA Awards announcement. I'm also thinking of all those talented people whose tremendous work will not be recognized in the very short lineup of books to which we affix fancy medals this year. If you are among those passed over or left out, it does not mean that your work was not worthy or that your books don't have worth. Your books will be every bit as wonderful tomorrow as they are today. The contributions you are making to the lives of children and teens are every bit as grand and every bit as lasting. Those of us who love your books, who will continue to sing their praises, applaud your efforts, and push your work on anyone who will listen." I did not write that. That is from Allison Morris, and Allison Morris is amazing. Meanwhile, I have to bring up, see, this is how technically advanced we are. I did not actually, oh look, see, I'm looking at my iPad. My iPad will show the covers of the books. See, this is how big we are. Oh, right, and I should mention, in these pre-game predictions that I do, a lot of what I like looking at is the mock elections, the fake elections that go around the country that people try to predict. There's an amazing mock site. Here you go. Backwards, probably. Amazing mock site that the Alsk blog has been collecting them. I used to collect them, and it's too much work. And they do it instead, and it's very nice. And people submit them, and they put them on. So you can see like what everyone around the country thinks is awesome. Doesn't mean any of them are going to win, but they do think they're awesome. Let's start with the Caldecott. So every year the Caldecott swings in different directions. Last year, we went with the Bagazillion honors. I like a Bagazillion honors. A Bagazillion honors can mean a lot of things. It can mean the committee couldn't decide on anything, and they were like, we'll just include everything. Or it means that they just thought everything was awesome. Or, and the thing with the Bagazillion honors is that you get the wacky books. Like, oh, I don't know, graphic novels for teens for Caldecott. That was crazy. This year, I think we're going to swing in the other direction. Not because I think the committee walks in to the room and says, hey, we need to have less honors this year. They're not going to think that. But I think on some level, it just swings back that way. I also feel like the Caldecott really reflects its times at its best and at its worst. But it does reflect its times. And the book, I feel, the book I think just has the best chance of that. This is going to be fun if it doesn't. Oh, there we go. Last Stop on Market Street. There we go. Which is illustrated by Christian Robinson, who has never won a Caldecott honor or award proper. It's a sweet story. It's beautifully illustrated. Some people might be saying, what about the Mac Barnett book that he did about the cute little ghost named Leo? I think that is a fine book, and that could easily win. Instead, he might get both. Certainly Mr. Klassen proved that is possible. But I feel like when it comes to being distinguished, this book ties into Jesser Jack Keats to a certain extent, ties into a lot of what we're seeing today, ties into economic disparity, which we do not see in children's books almost at all. See my post about that. My dark horse candidate, my love, which I don't think is going to get a darn thing, but I really wish it would. It's done very well in the mock election, surprisingly, but I don't think that's a reflection of what it will actually win. But I would love it if In a Village by the Sea would win something. It's illustrated by April Chu, who's a debut illustrator this year. She did both this book and a book on Ada Lovelace, which, if you didn't see it, was beautifully illustrated. And she's quite a talent. She's very interesting. She's completely eligible. That is not a minor thing. When we have these talks, eligibility is huge. And I just think it's just such a cool book. Another book I would really like to see, he gets passed over almost all the time, but boy, would it be awesome if he won. Drum Dream Girl was illustrated by Rafael Lopez. And I do not believe that Caldecott committees walk into the room and say, this book's going to win a Pura Belpré. We don't have to give an award. They don't do that. It's not how, if you've done the committee, it doesn't work that way. You actually cannot walk in with that thought in your head. And you're like, well, what if it's on the subconscious level? Could be. I don't believe so. And I believe this book is beautiful and exquisitely written, which is not a minor thing. Margarita Engel, I think, just went so good with that book. I consider it fictionalized nonfiction. So it is in the picture book sections usually. I don't think it's going to hurt it. I think it's going to do very well. Sophie Blackall was a teensy bit in the news this year. You may have seen her. And right now you're going like, oh, I'm talking about the Winnie the Pooh book. Oh, gotcha. Winnie the Pooh book, which, if you have looked at the art, is amazing. If you look at her research, is amazing. And I think very strong nonfiction. I think it's got a huge chance. I really love the sequences. I love the end papers. It's got freaking Stonehenge in it. Stonehenge has got to win something, right? That was a weird statement. Generally speaking, Selznick is always honored in terms of everyone adores him because he's wonderful. If he won Hugo with Hugo Cabret, an actual Caldecott for a book, a thick book. He didn't win anything for Wonderstruck. Could he win something with the Marvels? The Marvels are just add jaw on floor, pick up jaw, remove. So the Marvels, I don't know. This is really going to come down to the Caldecott committee themselves. They're going to be the ones who declare whether or not it has a chance. Moving on, we're going to run out of time here at some point. I'll just do a couple more. The Moon is Going to Eddie's House. Again, this is one of those things where I'm like, this debut person's amazing. And often debut people just don't win Caldecott's once in a while they do. And then everyone's like, oh my God. And then they've got so much pressure with their next book. So fun for them. I think this book does amazing things with movement in terms of cutouts and paper. And it's just, I love it. Does it have a chance? Maybe not. It's not like Mordecai Gerstein didn't already, win a Caldecott. One that tied in very well to its time, The Man Who Walked Between the Two Towers. Does the Night World say something about the state of the world today? We are in darkness and then we see the light. Yeah. It's beautiful though, and he does amazing things with it, so it could easily honor. I'm just saying. And we're just going to end here with another book that is like nonfiction, question mark, which is Water is Water. Illustrated by Jason Shin, who has never won a freaking thing, even though he's so talented. He works a lot in nonfiction. Nonfiction does not get a lot of Caldecott honors or awards. It does get some. It definitely gets some. But, you know, everyone's like, Brian Floca. Like, true. Absolutely true. But I think that if you specialize solely in it, and then you're like, Melissa Sweet. I'm like, okay, fine. Okay, it wins a fair amount. But he has never won, and that makes me sad. And you don't want to make Betsy sad, because Betsy's adorable. Moving on to the Newbery. And I know from looking at the roster of people watching, that Debbie Reese is watching. Hi, Debbie! Hi! So, how about that old hired girl? Right. So the hired girl has been doing remarkably well in terms of the New York Times bestseller list, and in terms of we won the Scott Odell Award recently. I know there is at least one committee member, maybe more, who will have concerns with the book. I have also learned in my time on the Newbery that one or two people, even three, 4 people who have concerns with books doesn't mean a thing when you've got a huge committee of 12 people, or 13. I think the book has a chance at not just an honor, at actually the award itself. But we don't know. We don't know. And it could be completely shut out. We do not know. It's not like she hasn't gotten awards in the past. So if she doesn't get anything, she has won many times before, and that the book has already gotten awards. It could also win a Printz, because the Printz is just, I'll talk about the Printz in a second here. I had previously predicted that due to its popularity, The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley, which is a fun name to say, would win something. Then somebody contacted me with some of their concerns. And of course, when you're on this committee, the concerns that you have with the book, you have to discuss them so many times. Small concerns can become very big concerns. And somebody mentioned to me, I'm not so sure about the Deus Ex Machina. Oh, we found a German spy. I'm actually going to shoot him. I don't know why I did that. I'm very excited this morning. We found the finding a German spy is a little weird, and the not using particularly British terms, making it sort of sound American in the writing, was a concern. I don't know that that's going to strike the committee as something that's particularly worrisome. Well, we don't know. I'm not in the room. Echo by Pam Munoz Ryan. Could walk away with it all easily. I read this book very, very early last year, and I can still remember it just crystal clear. I feel like 2 of the 3 stories are really super strong. The 3rd one's pretty strong. I feel like the whole fantasy element that ties it together, like, hey, take it or leave it. It comes right out. So I do think it is distinguished. I think it'll probably get something. I don't know what. Circus Mirandist, which I thought when I picked it up was going to be all cutesy, is not all cutesy. It has done very well financially. It may not get anything. Again, it's a debut author by Kathy Beasley, and she has never written anything before, but it has a good chance. Another good chance, and one that surprised me, was Gone Crazy in Alabama, which I read, and I was like, oh, it's okay, it's good. And then I thought about it. I was like, it does stand on its own. And I even had librarians read it who hadn't read the first 2. We actually managed to find some. And they said it held together just fine. It was completely good. We have 9 minutes until it begins. Okay, I will bring this to a close. There is also Rebecca Stead. You never count out Rebecca Stead. And if we're talking about books that speak to our current age and era and many of the concerns, Goodbye Stranger. Woo! Yeah, you can't see any of that. There we go. Goodbye Stranger is interesting because it talks about sexting, but in a much earlier context than these YA novels would ever do it. It talks about shaming, something that has been coming up constantly this year. I think it has a lot to say. I think it's super smart. I think people do have some things they can pick apart from it. She has one before in the past, which doesn't mean anything to the committee, but it is something that you have to consider. Wild Dark Horse, maybe it'll win, I don't know. A Nearer Moon by Melanie Crowder. Do not count this book out. It is a subtle, quick, beautiful little read. Very enjoyable. Do not care for the cover. I did not see these girls as red-haired. Definitely did not from the descriptions of the village that they live in. So that was strange. One book that I have been discounting, and I shouldn't, because this is the kind of book that where I don't say anything on my blog about it, and then it just gets everything. The Thing About Jellyfish, which got a shortlisted. Did it get shortlisted for the National Book Award? At least got a long listed at the very least. By Ali Benjamin, has the most original twist, I'd say, of any children's book today. Didn't see the whole locker thing coming. Those of you who've read the book will know what I'm talking about. Those of you who haven't, I think you should read it. There were a lot of a kid who has killed or feels guilty about the death of a classmate, and then meets and I'm going to use this term even though it's not accurate to this book, but a manic pixie dream friend who helps them get through. There were at least 4 of those books this year. This one, many would argue, is the best. The one book, well, every year that Steve Schenken has a book, you gotta mention Steve Schenken. You can't count him out. Oh, look at that. He's already got a shiny medal. Ooh, fancy man. I love this book. I love it. I read it. I don't read YA. I read this book. I learned so much. Would kids enjoy it? Yes, actually, they would. Fun fact. Moving on, let's see. Let's talk about, one that I have not mentioned, but that easily could suddenly like win the Caldecott, and everyone be like, where did that book come from? Out of the Woods by Rebecca Bond. This is going to be the book that I'm watching. This is the one that I've got, like, if I was a betting woman, and my name is Bets, I would put my side bet on and be like, watch that one. You don't know where that one's going. That one is like, it's like in the periphery, and then it could like zoom in and become a sudden winner of the Caldecott. I'm just saying. In terms of the Pura Belpré, which I do like to mention, it's a hard call. There's some very interesting books this year. Enchanted Air by Margarita Engel has gotten some lovely, lovely reviews. By the way, the Alsk blog that collects all the mocks also collects the Pura Belpré mocks, so please be aware of that. Also, she was really, really in the news this year. Would not be surprised at all if Sonia Manzano's Becoming Maria gets something. It is a very well done book, and of course, we cannot discount on the illustrator side the beloved Funny Bones. There we go. Yeah, I can't even bring it up. I couldn't bring it up at all. Whatever reason, this book's cover is impossible to get a nice big image of online. So look into that world. And that, oh, right, the Geisel, because we have 5 minutes and I can talk about the Geisel when I want to. The Geisel Award looks like Sergio Rousier's, fine, I'll get out of the picture. There we go. Two Mice has a groundswell of love and appreciation. People go crazy for Two Mice. And what this story needs is a pig in a wig, which as swag, I should have worn the swag this morning. As swag, they sent out red beehive wigs. Never seen that one before. That one could easily get some sort of a Geisel lovey-dovey love. In terms of the Printz, I cannot predict the Printz. The Printz is, I often say that some of these awards are kind of, they feel a little random to me. The Printz, just white darkness. That's all I'm going to say. White darkness. I mean, these things just come out of like, whoa, I didn't even know that book existed. This year, we've already seen Challenger Deep by Neil Shusterman, taken away the love of the National Book Award. Because I am optimistic and crazy, think Cuckoo Song's got a real chance this year. Because unlike the Newbery and Caldecott, you don't have to be an American to win that award. As you know, in about 4 minutes here, the live feed of the ALA Youth Media Awards will begin. And we are going to see at least one of the books I've just mentioned gets some kind of an award. And there you go. That's as much guarantee as you're going to get from me. What will happen is that some book that I don't even know is going to win, and it's going to be fascinating. Because I really like that about these awards. I like that anything that's eligible can win, and we don't even have a short list. I love that. Can you imagine if the Oscars were that way? It's like, oh, it's so much more exciting. So as you may have noticed, the link to this little podcasty talky thingy did not work before. And I have no reason to believe that with my frozen fingers, it's going to work again. So I will do the same thing I did just now. I will make a new Hangout, and I will put the link into the old Hangout, and then you will be able to follow the old Hangout, and you will be able to see the post-game show where it, and I'll, spoiler alert, it's just going to be me just going like for long periods of time. So if that sounds appealing to you, great, join me. If you don't want to join me, that's okay too. It's really early in the morning, really early. Those of you who got up at 4 a.m. to see this, thank you. You guys are awesome. I can't say go to bed because we're about to watch the awards. Oh, and here's the thing to watch for in the awards. This is my favorite thing. When you watch the awards, when they go through all the earlier awards, then they get to the Caldecott. Listen for the rumble of anticipation. That's my favorite part. We're like, and now the Caldecott, and then they say the Caldecott, and then like the whole room just goes like, listen for the rumble. The rumble is my favorite part of the YMA Awards. Thank you for watching. Join me back here. I have a space heater, and there's a likelihood that I won't be a frozen popsicle when you come back. Okay, we'll see you soon.